this is like the first time Dallas can really reflect that it's a global city, that we already have people from different countries that live here. So what we're trying to do is reflect the nations from our own community, really trying to dig into where certain communities live, what are their stores, restaurants, traditions. So we're trying to connect the different communities right here, international communities, and reflect that back in the World Cup. So it's going to go back to the storytelling.
On Making Black History Today, we're honored to welcome Noelle LeVeaux, a powerhouse storyteller, marketing strategist, and leader whose work has helped shape how cities and global brands show up in the world. A proud graduate of Spelman College, Noelle began her journey as a math major, grounding her creative brilliance in strategy, discipline, and analytical thinking. That unique blend has defined a career spanning more than 3 decades across media, tourism, healthcare, nonprofit leadership, and global events. Noelle made a lasting mark as Chief Marketing Officer for Visit Dallas, where she spearheaded the award-winning BIG campaign, reimagining and rebranding the city on a national and international stage. She's also held leadership roles in publishing and magazine media, including with D Magazine, consistently using storytelling as a tool for economic growth, civic pride, and community impact. Today, Noelle serves as Chief Marketing Officer for the North Texas FIFA World Cup 26 Organizing Committee, helping lead one of the largest global sporting events in history, right here in our region. At every step, Noelle's work reflects purpose, precision, and a commitment to opening doors to others. She is quite literally helping shape history today.
Welcome to Making Black History Today. I'm your co-host, Liz.
And I'm your co-host, Porter, and we are so excited and honored to have Noelle LeVeaux in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
We're just going to dive right into it.
Let's do it.
So let's talk about what it was like growing up in Deerfield, Illinois.
So I had a great childhood. It's called Deerfield because in the back 40 of my high school, you'd see deer running through there. I lived on Apple Tree Lane. Every house had an apple tree in the backyard. Both my parents were educators. My dad was a principal in the Chicago public school system. My mom was a teacher. And it's funny because in the time, of course, you don't know as a child, but that was a part of my parents' activism. They saw what would happen for kids that had great families but grew up in areas that didn't have access to the tools and the education. And so I was there, I think their great experiment. I think I was probably the first Black baby born in Deerfield. Wow. We were the second Black family there. And I have 2 older sisters. And they moved there right after my second sister, about a year after she was born, so in 1971.
Okay.
And I was born in 73. And I really do think I was the first Black baby born in Deerfield, Illinois.
Wow.
And it's funny because I had a really great childhood. The people there, white people, were almost all Jewish. And I think there is a difference in growing up around a persecuted people. But I also know that growing up around Jewish people and their pride in who they are and their care of each other is something that I was also learning and watching. And then, of course, I had access to great education and all of those things. So when I graduated from Deerfield High School, I was the class marshal, reading the names. I sang a solo. Okay. I received the John F. Kennedy Award. My name was probably called 8 times, and my mom just kept jumping up and down my dad because I think that was kind of the proof of their own experiment. Wow. That when we have access,
this is what's possible.
Grow.
Yeah, I tell people, that's my book. It is, none of this was meant for me, right? Because once we have access to it, I mean, I am what happens.
Okay, so you graduate from Deerfield High School, and then what made you decide to go to Spelman?
So my sister went to Spelman,
Okay.
And we grew up in Jack and Jill, and we went to a black church in Glencoe, Illinois. So, my mom was doing everything to make sure that we were connected in. It's funny, my kids were in Jack and Jill, but I waited because I'm like, we needed Jack and Jill. There were about 3 black kids in every, suburban high school around. And this is how we got together on Sundays was through Jack and Jill. Like we really needed it where we were. And that's where my best friend came from. Well, it was in Jack and Jill.
Right.
The first boyfriend I had came from a Jack and Jill party,
Yeah. Okay.
And so my sister had a friend in Jack and Jill who went to Spelman.
Okay.
And so that's how we even really learned about it. My mom grew up in Mississippi, obviously, then moved to Chicago with her family. My mom was super smart, graduated from high school at 15, graduated from college, 18, had a couple other degrees, but it was all very localized.
Yeah.
And so what you get exposed to. And so my sister's friend went to Spelman, my sister went to visit, and then she went to Spelman, and then I went to Spelman. And I went to visit my sister one time when it was, the right time for me to go by myself.
Right.
And I sat in Sister's Chapel and they sang the Spelman hymn, and I thought, well, I want to sing the Spelman hymn.
Yeah.
I'm
And
coming here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I love my Spelman experience.
All right. So how did you get from being a math major at Spelman to marketing in Dallas?
So I really wanted to be in broadcast journalism.
Okay.
But
And you have a great voice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's what I really wanted to do. And the little boy I dated in high school's dad was on.
The little boy.
Well, not on head. Was he literally little, or were y'all just kids?
I mean, he was not tall.
Yeah.
I'm not tall. I think I'm tall, but I'm not tall. And I was little. I didn't know I was little because I grew up around white girls. I thought I had body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was very confused.
Yeah.
So he was a little boy. Yeah, I was very confused. My daughters will tell me that when they look back at pictures. They're like, "This was you in high school?" Yeah, exactly. So what was I talking about? Okay, so
the little guy.
Marketing.
the little guy. His dad was on ABC Channel 7. So so I always had this. Well, but I needed a scholarship to get to go to Spelman. I needed a scholarship to go to school, and math and science is what they were paying, black girls, black women to go to school in. And so Spelman had a couple of programs. They had the NASA scholarship, and I really wanted to be a NASA scholar. And then they said that I couldn't because they needed to have a NASA base had to be closer to where I lived.
Okay.
Because that's where you would spend the summers. And so my mom was on the phone with that scholarship office like every day. And literally, I know she was harassing those people because there was no reason for me not to get a scholarship, but they had to find something where I could fit in.
Yeah.
And one day, the people from AT&T were in the scholarship office, and she said, "Wait a minute." She said, "Has anyone gotten the AT&T scholarship?" And the person said no. And so I went on a full ride with AT&T because my mom hounded those people.
Right.
And so I went to the dual degree program. So it was 3 years at Spelman, you get your math degree, and 2 years at Georgia Tech, and you come out with your bachelor's in math and your bachelor's in electrical engineering.
Oh, wow.
I had no desire to be an engineer.
Yeah.
Right.
My dad was very excited about me possibly being an engineer, but I interned with AT&T every summer, and so I was with electrical engineers every summer. And about the summer before my junior year, I said, "Do you like this?" to the engineer I was with, and he's like, "Yeah, I love it." And part of it was that we would go out and we were testing Bluetooth technology. I didn't know that's what it was, but he would test this, technology, and on a spreadsheet, I'd have to say, how does it sound going 30 miles per hour, on a scale to 1 to 10, with the windows up, with the radio on, right? That was Bluetooth technology. I wasn't. Anyway, I came back in, and he said, "I love it because tomorrow, I'll take your numbers and I'll change some things, and the numbers will go up." And I said, "I am in the wrong place."
Yeah.
But I also learned that there's something for everyone, right? And he loved it. I didn't. So I went back to Spelman and I was like, "Hey, so how do I wrap up this math thing? I am not going to be an engineer." And so that's what I did. And then I went to work in banking because that's who was recruiting me because I had a math degree. So, really people think more actuarial sciences and things like that. And then I found my way to the marketing people.
Okay.
Right. And I went through a management training program in Delaware with the company that I worked for. And they had an office here. I actually came and spent 1 week in Dallas, Texas during that 1 year program. And I had been spending my summers in New York and New Jersey. And, New Yorkers.
That's different.
They love New York.
Yeah.
And they think they're really special.
They do.
Right.
They absolutely do.
And I like that. I like that about people.
Yeah.
And so when I got here and it was all that, I wasn't born here, but I got here as soon as I could, I said, I think the only place that might rival New York in their pride might be Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's literally how I ended up here. Because, see, I like that. I like people who are proud of who they are, who accept themselves for who they are, and are confident.
And we're both Dallasites, and we're all about Dallas. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything.
I mean,
Texas,
that's how.
Texas, I tell people all the time, I deflate people from other states because they're like, you rooting for the Cowboys? You damn right.
Yeah.
Because this is Texas, and we root for everything in Texas. Pee Wee League, Baby League, Little League.
Yeah. So I love
whatever.
that. I'm drawn to that kind of energy.
Yeah.
And so when I finished the program, they kind of do like a draft. And the places, like I said, I was in Delaware, and the other place we had a lot of offices was in Maine. And I was 22.
Yeah.
I said, I am too black and too single to go to Maine or stay in Delaware.
Yeah.
I said, what kind of looks like a city? I was like, Dallas. So that's how that is literally how I ended up here.
Yeah. I love that.
And I've been waiting to talk to you about this big campaign. Listen, I think you did an extraordinary, remarkable job. Dallas used to could get anywhere in 3 minutes. Now, depending on the day or the time, it takes almost an hour.
Yeah.
You brought the people here.
I sent you that email and you responded right away, and I said, I can't wait to talk to her. Because you did an extraordinary, and then you talked to people. Like, we went to a Visit Dallas event a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking to this guy, and I said, where are you from? Because I can always tell when they're not from here. He said, I think he said he was from Atlanta or somewhere. He's like, nobody's from Dallas anymore. We are. I was at the hospital talking to a nurse, and I said, where are you from? She said, Chicago. And she was like, nobody's from Dallas. I was like, yes, we are. We're here. She was like, no, you're not from Dallas. I said, yes, South Dallas, right there.
South Dallas.
Right. South Dallas.
Right.
24 Oakland. So you did an amazing job.
Yeah. But let's talk about that part of people not being from here. Because what happens is you don't know the lay of the land when you get here, right?
Yeah.
And so when I first got here, our office was up in Addison at Keller Springs in the Tollway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that became kind of my stomping grounds. I got an apartment over there. Like I said, I was young. I didn't want to be far from work, all that kind of stuff. Didn't know anybody here. My best friend graduated that year because, like I said, I graduated a year early, and she came down here. I was like, my best friend needs a job. And so she got hired on the company that I worked for. But I was like, where are just the normal black guys? Like, why am all I running into professional athletes? That I'm not looking for one of them.
Yeah.
I know that I was in Atlanta. I know how that story plays out.
Yeah.
Right. But I couldn't find the black people that just I was like, where's the black guy that just works at a bank? But I didn't know that a lot of people that were from here that came back here after school or any of that were all in the South.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it feels like people aren't from here, especially people that look like us aren't from here because all of us end up somewhere north because of jobs and work and don't realize that those people that are from here, they're like, no, we're still here. We're down here.
We're that way.
Or
Carrollton.
Everybody moves north.
Yeah, it's true because that's where a lot of the industry is. And really, you have to remember, I moved here in 1995.
Yeah.
Like, you would go to a Mavs game at Reunion and get straight up the tollway because there wasn't anything going on downtown. Downtown was totally dead. Right? And Uptown really was just starting, to get started. And so even just that, the center core being as dead as it was during that time also really choked off the South.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, Noelle, I want to get into the business of what you do with the FIFA Soccer World Cup being in the distant future here, coming up fast, and all of the things associated with what's going on to drive the market and get people planted and transplanted here around FIFA in hopes that we're still going to have it here in the 2026. Having said that, there are some things going on right now in the climate of this country just on the heels of the FIFA World Cup. With you being a outstanding planner and marketer for the foreseeable future, for all the things you've done, Porter just talked about all these people now that are transit here in Dallas, in the Dallas area, in hopes that this soccer event is going to take place. Where are you guys now looking at the climate of what's just transpiring with the president of the United States? Are we taking a black eye on this thing? Is it something that we're going to be able to overcome and get real footing for the World Soccer Cup?
Mm-hmm. I actually think we will overcome it.
Okay.
And something you said earlier, particularly for Dallas, to me, is Texans love Texas.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, what's really interesting is that when I went to visit Dallas, it was the year before the 50th commemoration of the assassination of JFK. So I was very involved in our planning for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I spoke at a lot of events and a lot of panels. And a lot of it was with people that actually had been here young, right, and experienced it and told those stories. And I remember one woman told a story that her family had just moved to somewhere on the East Coast, north, but like Boston or somewhere. And she was in third grade. And the day after JFK was assassinated, her teacher put her desk at the back of the classroom facing the back wall.
Oh, wow.
And then another gentleman told a story that his family was traveling and they had Texas plates and they got out of the car and people started spitting on them.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
And it taught me so much about Dallas people.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like all this pride, there was like this little underlying like apology. And I was like, what is this? And I never thought that something like that, the city of hate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Could really be affecting people, real people that still lived and walked around here 50 years later. But I mean, you have to think about it. All of you who were, you know, who lived here, your families lived here, generations lived here. There were things that happened that are very deeply entrenched into all of the folks that lived in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And so people talk a lot of times about the civil rights movement here in Dallas.
Absolutely.
And what did not happen.
Yeah.
Right. And that was another lesson on how perception and appearance is something that's really important around here. And so when I think about what's going on in the world, I'll be honest with you, the crazier it gets, the calmer I get. Because, you know, outside of people losing their life, which of course is horrible, but the more people know how crazy it is, the more people in Texas are going to try to protect the perception of who we are.
And come together.
Right? And come together. I've seen it happen so many times. I mean, there is something about, and it goes back to what I said about being in Texas. I don't know how it is in other places, but I do have a lot of confidence in that here. And that's across the aisle. And what I also tell people is that there's some very wealthy people on either side of the aisle right here who I believe are extremely influential. So some of the things that are going on, I would guess there are backroom conversations happening right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dallas, Texas is not, I was actually CMO when the shooting happened on July 7th with the police officers.
Oh, really? Okay.
And this is crazy. This is a crazy story. I was downtown and I have two relatively young daughters at the time, and they were both away at camp, which meant that I had, you know, a little freedom. So I had gone to happy hour right on Main Street at Wild Salsa with a friend.
Good tacos.
Yeah. And so this is kind of rare because usually I've got to get kids where they need to go, whatever. But now it's summer and they were both away at camp. So I walk out and the Black Lives Matter demonstration was coming down Main Street. And there was a couple of police officers kind of guiding, you know, that. And he said, and I came and I didn't know it was happening right then. I was thinking I was going to get back home before most of it was going on. And he said to me, if you're going to cross now. And I was like, okay, let me get across. I crossed the street. I went to my car and I drove up the tollway. And by the time I got home from right down Main Street, all of that happened.
Yeah.
Right. And I get home, my phone's blowing up. I'm like, what is going on? And I wrote an article in the Dallas Morning News on that because it took a couple days, but here I was trying to do the things that you were talking about help people perceive Dallas, Texas as something totally different. Help people that live here, right? People all the way up to Little Elm and wherever, because when people call you from New York and, you know, California and you live in Little Elm, they think you live in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
Right.
That's true.
You know, and so, you know, that was part of what my passion was to make sure that locals loved our city. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
you know, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so even in that moment, you know, the coming together that we saw during that time period. I mean, I know you guys remember the Bushes and the Obamas at the symphony.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And that interaction, you know, it wasn't performative. And the people obviously here that were engaged with that as well. And so I have a lot of faith in Dallas. I really think that we're going to try to pull it out.
Want to partner or contribute financially to the success and growth of this amazing podcast? Learn more by going to our website at www.makingblackhistorytoday.com or email us at impact@makingblackhistorytoday.com. Let's collaborate, y'all.
I mean, I will say this. I do look up some days and go, really?
Yeah,
I'm doing the World Cup thing, which sounds really cool, and we're in this moment.
It sounds cool.
But we're in this moment like this. You know, it's so unexpected, right? Because no one would have thought that to do a World Cup in North America across our three countries, that even just that could be a concern for people. Right. And so, I think it's definitely going to get pulled off. I mean, obviously, the organization has gotten very close with the White House on purpose.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's on purpose, right? And so we work with the White House task force and do all of those things.
Right.
I think we're taking all the steps to make sure that it happens. And I actually think that it is going to be a moment that is going to create the feeling that we all know we wish we could have right now, right? Because when there are going to be millions of people from other countries here, right? Even in the midst of all of this crazy, I will tell you, there's no one more fanatic than soccer fans. Right? They're coming. They're coming. I mean, I've seen the hotel reports. I've seen the ticket purchasing reports. They're coming.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do we separate what's being speculated in the speculative conversations about people pulling out of this this watershed moment for the United States, Mexico, and Canada, with the talk from other countries saying that the conversation of politics and letting those politics bleed into the largest potential gathering of people in almost the history of the world. In fact, it may be,
it's the biggest
given
World
the
Cup
consideration of the numbers that we're looking at. Because I wrote some of these things down from the guy who's the president of the Confederations of Soccer, and he's saying that according to his own words, the U.S. has the number one ticket sales. 500 million.
Over 500 million tickets.
Yeah, tickets.
People
crazy.
Okay. 500 million,
wild.
and the number's still growing.
That is wild.
Over the course of 39 days, okay, the three host countries, like I said, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, 825 plus full-time jobs that were created for you guys to do what you do over 16 cities. $80 billion potential, and that's a small number, really, considering what's going on here. 48 teams, and I'm just giving stats here. Over 104 matches across North America. What is the potential effect of politics ruining this event for the world? In your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, there's no chance.
Okay.
There's no chance.
Okay.
500 million people have gone into a ticket lottery to get the chance to spend thousands on a ticket. What we don't understand here is that people save for a lifetime to experience this.
Sure.
Right. And so they're coming. They're coming. They're bringing their families. You know, they're working now to make sure that whatever they think they need to have to not getting into any mess here, they're going to have. I just wish it was easier. I wish people didn't have to feel the concern.
Right.
But they're coming. And part of the reason why they're coming is the dollars that you just mentioned as well. Right. So You always follow the money, right? I mean, the potential economic impact for the Dallas region is $1.5 to $2.1 billion in 39 days, right? Which is significant. Oftentimes in tourism, it's twice that across a year.
Correct.
So in 39 days to do that, and that is what I'm focused on.
Right.
Is how do we make sure that businesses here across the entire region get a part of that.
That's right.
Because that's the reason why we do things like this. This is the reason. It's not just, it's nice to put a feather in our cap.
Sure.
Right? But it puts Dallas on the map. But the only way that really matters is if people here that are running businesses are getting an opportunity to take advantage of it. I think it's sad that the politics are going to cause the conversation to not focus on what I think is going to be the true beauty of this. And I think we will get there because like people say, for 39 days, we won't talk about anything but soccer.
Right.
Yeah.
We won't, and it's so hard, when you just really have never experienced something so big with so much passion in it, like to be able to imagine it, I think is hard. But from everyone I talk to, I've never been to a World Cup, but from everyone that I talk to, I think we're going to be swept into it.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think it will be actually a reprieve from what we are all feeling well needed. Yeah. I really do because sports and music, sports and music bring people together in ways that I think can overcome a lot of things. But I think that the true fact is that what we do is I'm focusing on the fans. Okay. I'm focusing on the fans and I'm focusing on our community. Like how can our community benefit from this?
I was going to ask you, the follow-up question was, with the economic numbers being staggering in the billions and billions of dollars, what is being done to pool or to make sure that these resources are equitable across the map and representing all of the people that are here in our fair country to make sure that everybody has some benefits for these funds? Yeah.
Well, I can talk about what we're doing here. And that is I talk and go everywhere. I tell people, if you want me to come to wherever your group is gathering or whatever, I'm coming. Okay. So, I mean, I've spoken at the South Dallas Innovation Center at least 3 times. Okay. Right? I'm like,
SDFP.
I'm going to Arlington's Black Chamber meeting. I'm going to the Hispanic Chamber meeting. I mean, I've been in big places, small places, Balk Springs. I had never been to Balk Springs.
It's an adventure, isn't it?
It's an adventure.
You should go a little further.
Good people though. I mean, like good people in Balk Springs for sure. I had a lot of fun there.
Right. Subscribe to this amazing podcast and also like and share. And we would love to read your comments.
My point is accessibility.
Right.
And I tell people that when I get up and speak, and I'm not just saying it. I have people that come up to me later and say, hey, I've got this group. I said, send me the information. I'll be there. Yeah. And that's literally, I told Monica Paul, who leads the organizing committee, I said, at the end of this, I'm going to print my entire calendar out for the places and the people that we've touched and that we've spoken to. And that, because really for me, it's my role in this seat is to make sure that there's real access, right? So I'm trying to make sure that nobody can say, we didn't know, we didn't hear about it, we didn't,
we got
and
shut
people
out.
Still say that, I still get that. And then I say, okay, well, I was here. I don't know, where have you been?
Yeah.
Right. And I tell people all the time, call me, email me. Yeah. So that, but that is personally for me, I see that as part of the reason why I'm in this job. Right.
So it's kind of your love language to see the need and through your marketing ability, because I remember the big campaign and how big, no pun intended, or maybe so.
Pun intended.
Pun intended.
Maybe so. How large and impactful that was for Dallas. I mean, we were taking pictures with the signs big, with the letters, and all of that thing. And so, was that your genius? Was that your brainchild?
So what's interesting is that I was taking that job on, they were in the process of doing the research and things like that, and they had gotten down to a couple of taglines. And the woman who was working on it from the ad agency was actually my ad agency principal at Children's. I was at Children's at the time. And she was the one that was like, hey, you should look at this job. I hadn't gone over to visit Dallas yet. Sure. And she called me one day, she said, they've got 2 taglines that they're talking about, and I know you, and I know you need to pick it, right? So she's like, I'm going to tell you what they are, and you tell me which one, and then I'll make sure I go, deliver the message. So they had picked these taglines. Both of them had big in it. And so then when I got there and started really working on what the creative was going to be, I said, we're going hard on big.
Yeah.
And people said, well, we don't want to just be Big D again. I said, y'all put big in both the taglines. Now you want to talk about you don't want. I was like, no. If you put it in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean into it.
Yeah.
But what's important is that back to like the fan, the truth is about the big campaign is it was about exactly what you said. It was about the individual.
See?
It was about the individual because the truth is that we are all a part of a bigger ecosystem.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we all also live these very individual lives.
That's right.
Like I look around when I'm driving sometimes and think, what is going on in that person's life in that car right there?
Yeah.
Because we all have so much going on in our lives. And so no matter what you're doing, so for marketing, as much as it is about how do you get groups of people and larger segments and all that kind of stuff, it always comes down to the individual. So the big campaign was about really honestly, and people thought I was crazy for this, handing the brand back over to the people. Right, because once a brand intersects with your personal life that deeply, then you're truly a brand ambassador, which is what we were trying to do. We were trying to take the Dallas population and turn them into ambassadors. Because what we learned in social media, listening, and all of that was that people here weren't proud. They weren't proud of necessarily being from here.
Yeah.
Even if they were proud of being from here, on the travel tourism marketing side, they didn't know why to tell people to come here.
Right.
Right. And so, so really the effort was, how do we take our own neighbors and turn them into brand ambassadors for Dallas? That's what it was about. But I think that even at the World Cup, there are so many personal stories for people that hopefully we will hear along the way. And that is why it's going to be okay. Right. It's this weird thing. It's kind of like even what I said about my parents, right? In their own home, there was a level of activism going on to think about who I might be at almost 53, right? And what I might be committed to if I was in a certain setting, if they built certain, ideas into me. And that's what I think is so interesting about life, is that as individual as it is, as individuals, we impact, greater groups and populations and things like that, but it still comes down to the individual. I would talk to people and say, think about the big moments in your life that make Dallas special to you. Like both my daughters were born here, right?
Absolutely.
There are things about Dallas that will always make Dallas something really special to me.
Right.
And that's what that campaign did. People would send me their cards, so-and-so is going to be a big brother. That campaign really was about moments in people's lives, graduation pictures that people would do, and
right
cards.
there in front of the big,
And over near the Arts District, a lot of them, all the Booker T graduates would go over there.
Because it's a big deal.
And so it was about taking something that you were used to hearing people say about Dallas and making it something a little bit different.
It's kind of like, if you remember this, Noelle, when Dallas was actually airing the show Dallas, and everybody that came to Dallas was like, I'm going to Dallas. I want to know who shot JR.
Exactly. I want to see these shiny buildings. Well, that was the interesting part of even just marketing Dallas, is that internationally, the Dallas TV show was in syndication, up until the early 2010s.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's great for us for the World Cup, because international people know Dallas, Texas. Yeah. And they have, it has an appeal to them.
Well,
and they want to see.
Unique look.
We got a unique
cowboy
look.
Boots and
the Western
hat.
thing.
But
what's funny though about the Western thing is that when I first went to visit Dallas, when we would win business, they would send a gift to the association president or something, and it was a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And I said, now, do you tell them that when they get here, that they're going to be the only person wearing a cowboy hat in the restaurant, and we're all going to stare at them?
They're expecting horses.
Yeah.
But Noelle, how cool is it just at random to look up and see somebody in some cowboy boots and a hat? Because these are things, the signatures.
Sure.
And it's still cool.
Well,
to
over
go
here
to
you see
Cowboys
the
games.
black cowboys that ride over here all the time. I worked for Children's, and we used to see them all the time. They would ride the trail over here. And that's what also is great about the World Cup, is that it is the most regional thing we will ever do.
Yeah.
Because we're expecting 100,000 visitors a day.
Sure.
There's no one city. So this is Fort Worth, Arlington, Irving, South Dallas,
Everybody can play.
So I tell people, I'm like, everyone will feel it. But what I tell businesses is that this is the moment to be creative and collaborative. Be creative and collaborative. I was like, you might think, I don't see anything that relates to World Cup in my business that I do. keep thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's something tangential sort of to what you do, and that's why collaboration is important, because it might not be exactly in your lane, but maybe you could partner with someone who it is in theirs, but you then provide whatever you have,
And
you
get
know.
that scale.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's creative and collaborative, and that's what everybody should be thinking about.
Yeah.
Very cool. The psychological affirmation of attaching to a team, to rooting for a team, to building onus in a team, especially a team like your soccer team, because we know that a lot of soccer fans have a nationalistic kind of fervor that it just comes with them. So it's everything about the nation, about nation building, the camaraderie of coming together. When you look at the groups, the governance, and all of the issues surrounding putting this thing together, which has become a global kind of a mission to host this event here, how do we differentiate for fans in the South, especially Texas and in the southern region, soccer over American brand of football, especially given the dynamics and the difference and the nuances of how the two different versions of football are played.
Yeah.
Football, FU versus football.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you guys a little secret here, but FIFA's doing a documentary on each of, well, it's a documentary called Stories from the Cities. So each city gets a 25-minute documentary, and it's a lot of storytelling.
Sure.
And I happened to be in a conversation with someone who talked about the DOC being very involved with this team in England. And I was like, well, then I want the DOC in my documentary.
Yeah,
There you
for
go.
sure.
There you go.
But what he says is that the reason why he loves soccer is because soccer is a working man sport. You really don't need any gear for soccer.
That's right.
Right. And it's one of the very few sports you really just need a ball.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that is why in all of these countries, many of them, you know, relatively poor countries,
Working
soccer
class.
is something that they're so passionate about, because the DOC even talks about, he's like, when I was in, you know, South Africa, we were kicking a soccer ball around.
Yeah.
We didn't have the other stuff, right? But we someone had a ball, right? And it's the same way in those countries. So I think that the passion derives from a place of hope and dreams and ideas, you know. So that little boy who was playing soccer, I mean, you hear the stories of some of the soccer players in some of these countries, where they came from. And now, honestly, if you think about American football, you have to think about certain teams. You think about teams like the Green Bay Packers, like you think about the Chicago Bears, you think about
Dallas Cowboys.
America's team.
Let me tell you. So, unfortunately for most people,
Right here.
Unfortunately for most people that I know, I'm a huge Cowboys fan. And I was never a Bears fan because my dad had season tickets, and a 13-year-old girl does not want to sit on a metal bench at 5 degrees in Soldiers Field. And then it took me years to figure out why he said, don't drink out of my thermos. You know, so he's warm from the inside out, and I'm freezing my tail off. So I hated football. And then I got here, and I already told you the only black guys I knew were athletes, right? So it was either second row or a suite, because I worked at a bank, so we had it, whatever. And it was 90-some degrees.
Yeah.
And it was 90. Let me just say, I used to say it was 90 degrees, and now, of course, it's like 108 during preseason. But it used to be like 90. In the 90s, it would be like about 90 degrees. And I fell in love with football. So I'm a Cowboys fan. Okay. And I also moved here in 95, so we were still winning Super Bowls too.
Right. Glad to have you.
Yeah. So I'm a Cowboys fan, and I was really never a Bears fan. Now, the even funnier part of that is that the Bears and the Bulls, all of them lived pretty much in Deerfield.
Yeah.
The Bulls practice facility was in Deerfield. And when the Bears practice facility was being renovated, the Bears practiced on our back 40 of our high school. Now, I already told you there were only 3 black girls at the school.
Yeah.
So I was probably a senior, and we parked in the back parking lot. And so we would come, and all the little white people wanted to walk with me because Otis Wilson, the refrigerator, they all learned my name because they were like, there is one little black girl we see. So they'd be like, hey, Noelle. I'd be like, hey. So all the little white girls wanted to walk with me because, and so we had the Bears practicing on our back 40 the whole time. Sure. So I should have been a Super Bowl Shuffle Bears fan.
Yeah.
But I was not. And so I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I stand by it. You know,
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I ran the bid for the Republican National Convention
Yeah.
in 2014. I don't know if you
Okay.
guys know that. So
No,
we
I
bid on
didn't.
the Republican National Convention for 14.
Yeah.
In 2014. And that was a wild ride, right? And we got all the way to the last two. It was between us and Cleveland. Of course, nobody knew what was going to happen. I mean, thank the good Lord that we didn't end up with that convention, really honestly. But during the bid process, you know, this is when Dallas was really kind of was grappling with the stadium, which was such a draw.
Yeah.
But Arlington was still, you know, trying to grow and build around it. And so the team that came to visit from the RNC wanted to go see the stadium. And I said, we're not using the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, the convention is going to be at the American Airlines Center because the way the convention works, people flow out, they want to go to restaurants, continue conversations, whatever. Arlington would have been really difficult.
And it's not in Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been really difficult. And so, like, the last day before the tour was over, they're like, we want to go see the stadium. So we make all the calls, you know, we take a bus out to the stadium. And then I watched those people walk in there. And it's like a kid. It's like a kid walking into like Disney World. And because we're here all the time,
we're
like we kind of forget. But I've watched people through that process, through this process, when people walk, or even when it just like comes across the horizon, it doesn't. It's just like this gigantic spaceship. Anyway, so no, we are spoiled. I mean, plus the stadium feels like a high-end hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Now, I will say I still miss the fact that Texas Stadium somehow concrete could smell like burgers.
Yeah.
I mean, like I just used to be like, this concrete pillar smells like a burger from that grill. And I really used to like that moment of getting in there too, though.
Well, the thing that's I think is going to solidify the effects of the new stadium is winning the Super Bowl championship. I think it'll come around, but we got some strides that have to be made.
I'm gonna stay hopeful.
Oh, you brought up weather, and maybe I shouldn't say it, but in 2010, I believe we had the NBA All-Star Game here.
You shouldn't bring this up.
And I shouldn't bring it up.
You shouldn't bring it up.
And we had a snowstorm, but it was in the winter months. In 2011, we had the Super Bowl.
Sure did.
Didn't we just say we shouldn't bring this up?
And I'm not going to talk about 2026. I'm just...
Okay, so
I know y'all have had the conversation.
I'll add one to your list of. We know that whenever we have a major sporting event, there is often a weather event as well.
Anomaly.
The Final Four. We had the Final Four here in April.
Yeah.
And I know because I look back and I have a Chicago fur coat on.
Yeah.
In April in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
So.
But it's the summer, right? It's happening in the summer.
Yeah, it is.
So.
But I mean,
does it get too hot to play soccer?
So it's funny. The heat has been a big conversation, particularly when it comes to teams and base camps and those kinds of things. You know, what we keep trying to tell everybody is it is hot across North America in the summer period. It's hot in Canada. It's obviously hot in Mexico.
Right.
Like it's going to be hot. You know, they moved the one in Qatar to November because of the heat there, right?
Wow.
Now, there are 16 host cities, like you said, so 16 stadiums. Only 3 are covered, one of them being ours, right? So there is an issue with the heat in the summer and soccer matches.
Yeah.
So you'll see a shift in the schedule. So some of the matches, you know, start a little bit later than they would. So that's how they're kind of adjusting for it. But they're going to be here. They're going to be living here. They're going to have to practice here.
Right.
I will tell you, and it does make a difference. One time, I was really pushing to have a music festival in the floodplains of the Trinity over here, Trinity Groves, right?
Okay.
And so Live Nation was coming. I was like, this would be so great.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do a music festival called Some Like It Hot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Some Like It
That's a
Hot.
great-
Let's
yeah.
go. Right? You know? Yeah, exactly. I was like, we can do all kinds of chili peppers and all kinds of stuff going. Whatever. So Live Nation came.
Yeah.
This is why people think I'm a little crazy. Like my marketing style is definitely like, let's just go. Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
So they came, y'all. Do you remember the May where the Trinity almost flooded over?
I do.
I was going to say it
Where
rained.
It rained and rained and rained.
Yep.
They got here. The Trinity was full of water.
Yeah.
I was like, so clearly this won't work.
But we tried it.
I mean, it was a good idea. But so the weather does not. So yeah, people, you know, I tell people between, you know, the questions about visas and, you know, some of those issues, I said we plan for it just like we do the weather. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, this is Dallas weather is unpredictable.
It's unpredictable. And June, this past June was very rainy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that there are going to be some adjustments with the intense climate that we're in right now. With I think the closer that we get to those matches, I think some reality is going to set in, because at the end of the day, even the administration that is currently occupying the White House is at the end of the day all about money.
I was going to say, I coined this term since we've been sitting here. Economics trumps politics.
Yeah, you're
true.
You're on a bender. Yeah, you're on a bender. Yeah,
luckily, it's accurate. So we're gonna go with it.
Yeah.
Yes, do that. Hey, listen. I tell people that's the best thing you do is learn to pat yourself on the back.
And you've got to. So,
go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like, share, and we would love to read your comments. What is your vision for how Dallas, and specifically its Black history and culture, will be showcased during this tournament?
So I think this is like the first time Dallas can really reflect that it's a global city, that we already have people from different countries that live here. So what we're trying to do is reflect the nations from our own community, really trying to dig into where certain communities live, what are their stores, restaurants, traditions. So we're trying to connect the different communities right here, international communities, and reflect that back in the World Cup. So it's going to go back to the storytelling.
Okay.
And so that's where we are. We got our schedule. Our schedule is great. I was expecting maybe some other countries as well that might have more reflection of some of the cultures that I know are here. But we also have round of 32, round of 16, and a semifinal. So I think we're going to be able to do more of that. I'm hoping more of the African diaspora, which we don't have much at all in our schedule.
Yeah, I saw that.
But that will come. And so really kind of trying to reflect that. Even without those teams here, it is really about it being a global event. So there are a lot of folks now that are working on that. Like, who are the people that we should be talking to where we can really start amplifying that passion of soccer through communities that are already here. Soccer fans are the craziest of all. I mean, soccer match is starting at 3 a.m. Here it's at 3 a.m. And they've got bars and pubs and places that open up, and you will have hundreds of people there because they're going to watch their team play. Yeah. So those are the places that we're trying to be in. We're trying to not, just create new soccer fans, but also respect the ones that we have.
And speaking of culture in soccer, we recently got a women's soccer team here in Dallas.
Yeah,
so we have the Dallas Trinity.
Yeah.
I almost wore my hat, but I didn't want to look, too down.
I will say, that's one of the things I'm most excited about is women's sports in Dallas. I really am. I think that, people ask me what I'm going to do after this. I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I've really wanted, back when I was CMO Visit Dallas, I was like, y'all, let's put a stake in the ground. Sure. I wanted us to just say, Dallas is the city of the South. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah. I wanted to say Dallas is the city of the South, because Dallas is a city that, to me, has so many great things that a city has. But then also, it's a really livable place as well, right? Yeah. So it kind of has that balance. I think I really do believe that Dallas is the city of the South.
Yeah.
If Austin, Texas can say that they are the music capital of the world, then I think you can put a stake in the ground, say whatever you want to, and just, that's your story. You're sticking to it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to get Dallas to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, put a stake in the ground. Yeah. So I think it might be women's sports.
Yeah.
I think it could be women's sports. If we lean into it the right way, I think that we could be the home of women's sports.
So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about, earlier you mentioned the car, and I saw you talking, you did a TED Talk.
I did, yeah.
And you talked about finding out that you had, which I didn't even know was a thing till I saw your TED Talk, stage 0 cancer, and what that was like when you called 8 times, and going through that process and running into the back of that car with the girls in the back.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. It's funny. I was with a woman the other day, and she said, "Oh, I'm a breast cancer." We were talking about something. She said, "Oh, I'm a breast cancer survivor too." She said, "But I had garden variety." I said, "Don't ever say that." Right? There's no garden variety cancer. I mean, just the experience of hearing the cancer word. And what's interesting, and I say it in my TED Talk, I knew I had cancer the second mammogram. I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going home. I was going to see my family in Houston for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there. I told my sister, I said, I have breast cancer. And she said, how do you know? I said, because the way the radiologist spoke to me was in a voice I'd never heard before, because no one pities me, even if they don't know me.
Right.
When I walk in a room, I'm just not someone you go, poor girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had never honestly heard that tone of voice before.
Yeah.
And I knew right
Yeah.
then. I knew by the tone of voice that was so unfamiliar to me, like this little pity sound in it.
Yeah.
I knew it. And of course, they're trained to know what they're looking at in regards to how it all lines up. And so that voice was because this person was like, I'm going to guess that 9 out of 10 times this is breast cancer. And of course, she couldn't tell me that. I then went for a biopsy after that. But I knew.
Yeah.
I knew right then because of that just strange tone that I heard from her. And so the thing about having cancer is nobody tells you what you're supposed to do. Like this whole idea in like medicine, like one of my sisters, we have 2 sisters, my older sisters used to say, they say it's a practice. It's a medical practice, right?
Right.
She's like, because they're kind of practicing still.
Yeah.
And every step of the way, there were a lot of decisions that had to be made. And it was always like, well, it's stage 0, so you can decide if you want to do chemotherapy. Well, your margin is really close, so you could go either way on doing radiation. So a lot of the choices are your own.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, in that moment, what I realized is that all the things that I'd done work-wise, I was diagnosed at 41. So I've been working about 20 years. You always think those things are to get you ready for that next job. No,
Right.
It was to get me ready for this moment.
Right. That's right.
That I was decisive because of the way I had learned to work for many, many years. And so I was very decisive, and I made it very clear. I'm like, here's the plan. I am surviving this because I'm a single mom with 2 kids. So Noelle has to live. Every plan is Noelle has to live. So whatever we have to do to follow that plan, that's what we're going to do. Now, it's funny because when I paused there because I was starting to tell another story, because I always tell people that they're like, oh, how long have you been in marketing? And I say all my life, because I didn't know if the white people I was around were ever going to meet another black person. I've been a brand ambassador for the black race all my life.
that.
I have marketed a lot of things in my life all of my life. And cancer kind of shook me out of that a little bit, of making everything look pretty, right? Because of course, growing up, the way I grew up, I was the youngest of the 3 girls. So I was squarely in this mode of how I should behave, right, in the world that I was in to continue to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, cancer was the gift of no longer trying to be
fit that mold.
perfect, no longer trying to. But, I really did. I did that really, really well. I packaged my life really well for other people. And the car accident was the moment, actually, when I finally shook out of it. Because when I was diagnosed and they said it was stage 0, I mean, I literally, it was December 3rd. I start calling the doctors and everything. My friends and I were going to a Justin Timberlake concert. My friend picked me up. I said, okay, so I finally got the call. I have breast cancer. She's like, do you still want to do this? I was like, absolutely. We're still going to this concert. And then the next day, I just picked up, started making the phone calls, trying to figure it out. I said, and, I'll do this. Have the double mastectomy, and we'll figure out where we're going for spring break. That's the way I was going to deal with cancer, just like everything else. Wrap it up in a bow, right? Blow through the obstacles. And God just had a different plan for me. Yeah. And so when I had the double mastectomy, they take the sentinel lymph nodes out on both sides. And that's when they figured out that it had metastasized to one of my lymph nodes. And I ended up going down to MD Anderson for a second opinion on my pathology. I shipped all my tissue down because once it had spread to one of my lymph nodes, although it was small, my doctor kept calling it stage 0 still. And I said, you can't call it that.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
It's already spread.
It's evolved.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what was interesting, and this is how you can take the same information and have 2 totally different interpretations of it. He said, my doctor here was like, I mean, but it's very small. The metastases is, so it's not like it's aggressive. MD Anderson said, it is tiny. They found a pin-sized invasive tumor. And they said, and it immediately spread to your lymph node and metastasized. So they interpreted it very differently. They said we should be very aggressive with this because clearly, cellularly, it's ready to grow,
evolve,
right, and evolve. And so then I, figured out I was gonna do the chemotherapy, right? And so I was getting ready to go into chemotherapy when we were taking that car ride. And what happened is, my mom was staying with us. The girls, relatively young still. They're like 10 and 6. And I walk into my kitchen and I step on the floor and water comes out from like the seams of like the floor. And I was like, and the dishwasher was running. I was like, I cannot take one more thing. I cannot take one more thing.
It's a capacity.
I turn off the dishwasher. I'm like, hey, girls, let's go get our nails done.
Yeah.
Right.
So we were driving to go get our nails done. But up here, I was all messed up.
Yeah.
And so I ran a red light. I T-boned another truck.
Wow.
Yeah. And thank God no one was hurt in that accident. But that was the actual moment. That was the actual moment when I realized God was saying, no, you actually have to wake up. You have to stop running through life making things look pretty.
Yeah.
I think you use the word perfunctory. I heard the TED Talk, and I'm leaning forward, and I just actually watched this last night. And you said I had to stop approaching this thing with this minimal perfunctory effort, and really see it for what it was.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Yeah.
But that snap out of it, hey, this is because we get caught up into routines of things, and it's like, this is just another thing.
Yeah.
But I think, and the way I saw this, because I saw this aquarium to aquarium.
Yeah.
I saw this in my sleep. It's like when that water was coming up, that was the alarm. The Creator was sending the alarm saying, hey, you're going to get over this, but I need you to pay attention.
Yeah.
There's water coming up out of the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Now, that'll
It's
preach,
so
but
true.
I'm not going to.
No, but it's really, and the thing is, Aquarius to Aquarius, is that I was good at a lot of things. So being perfunctory still meant a lot of excellence, right? And which sometimes I think can be really, really bad about masking. But I also thought that I was really transparent.
Yeah.
And I wrote a blog, Confessions of a Single Mom with Cancer, when I had cancer. And I did really start confessing some things. And so I always tell my kids and my nieces and nephews, everyone's drawn to authenticity.
Yeah.
Everyone's drawn to, I don't even have to like what you are saying.
Yeah.
But if you are true to it,
keep it real.
Good with it.
then I think people are drawn to that.
I want to, by the way, because I'm curious, I got to ask. Now, you got a Libra, and what's your other daughter?
She's a Gemini. We're all air signs.
You got 4 kids.
Wow.
Is Gemini an air child? Is air sign?
I don't know, but Geminis are more than
early
one person.
June, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
You got 4 kids.
Oh, my gosh. Is that what it is? Because you know what? I've named her other personality from the time she was very young.
See?
I did. From the time she was very young, I would say, now we can't have her with us today. she gotta stay back at the house. Okay, I need JoJo to show up.
Yeah, come on this.
That other one can't come
Today.
I had no idea. I've been enlightened today.
There it is.
Because naturally, I just know she is very much. There are 2 different people in her whole personality.
Yeah.
But so the 3 of us are all air signs.
Yeah. The 4 of you.
Yeah, the four of us have it. Dude, that makes. I'm telling you, that makes so much sense now.
The 4 of
So
you.
much sense.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions other than to say to you, we appreciate you coming on the show with us today, and I'm elated to have had this conversation, and it's been a lot of eye-opening revelations, just talking to you about things that you said something, and I'll say this earlier about the moment that you knew that you were gonna have this battle ahead of you. I remember walking into the hospital the night that my mom made her transition, and I looked at the person that I walked up to, and I said it. I knew it, so I had that aha moment when you said that, because I knew too. And I don't know if you remember it.
I do.
You were.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, no, she didn't make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, but thank you for coming on the show with us today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
It was fun. I don't want it to end.
Well, it's not quite over. One more question. This is the Making Black History Today podcast. What does Making Black History Today mean to you?
It's interesting because I'm a Spelmanite, right? And I love my alma mater, and you see a lot about Spelman in the news and in the media and all that kind of stuff. And I say it's funny though, because they raise activists, right? They train us up to go be in the world and not of the world.
That's right.
Right. And so I can sneak up on people, right? Because they're thinking I'm one way, or because I've done all these things, but they don't know who I was raised by, why they did the things that they did, what Spelman taught me about not only Black history, but Black currency, I'll say, right?
Sure.
Meaning, double meaning of it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's back to the individual that impacts the larger village and then the community and the world. And so when I think about my daughters, like I think about making Black history today just in my home, every single day, knowing that they're going to stand up for things. I mean, I've got a junior at NYU, and there are times when I have to stop being so polite and let her be who she wants to be in regard to activism, right? Because I was raised in the generation of, children should be seen and not heard, right? And so raising my daughters has been kind of a journey for me to make sure that Black history today helps us build Black history of the future, right? Because in many circles, they are trying to erase it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's important that the two people that live in my house, will be warriors to make sure that doesn't happen. Yeah. And so that's what it means to me, right now, because we're in a moment. Yeah. Right. And so I think every single one of us has to do our job, even if it's just in your own house, to make sure that that we have longevity.
And I would say that it's well beyond your house, all of the amazing things that you've done and that you're doing. We're so honored and grateful that you joined us today. Thank y'all for watching. And remember to like, share, subscribe, follow. Let's collaborate. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks.